Oh, Shane, first off, I'm looking at your wall. I already hate you because you have so many beautiful framed
Yeah.
pictures. Can you, selfishly, you have what is that Citizen Kane? What's next to Citizen? That's a bogey movie. What is that?
Yeah, so I've got what Treasure of the Sierra Madre,
Oh,
Citizen Kane, Goonies, Rear Window, Godfather, Deliverance, Cool Hand Luke, Stripes, goes on. Yeah.
amazing.
So some of
So,
them like Stripes shot in my hometown of Louisville, Kentucky. Goonies, I grew up in a tiny little town that had one movie theater, like one screen. So when I was 10 years old, that played like all summer. So I saw it 10, maybe 15 times, because there was nothing there. It wasn't like a Cineplex. It was like, here's one screen and go see it. And then these other films were just Cool Hand Luke, just films I love.
yeah. Speaking of films that you love, I hope that you love, one of my favorite directors is Samuel Fuller, and he
Hmm.
directed some great war films, including
Yes.
The Steel Helmet. I just looked on Wikipedia, it was shot for 104K in Griffith Park, which brings us to Murder Company. And I don't know what kind of budget you had, but I feel like your movie is in the spirit of filmmakers like Samuel Fuller, where
Yeah.
you're just making old school World War II films, no frills, no fluff, just straight ahead solid storytelling. Can you just talk about that aesthetic and your homage as well as your original take on the genre?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm glad you brought him up. Talk to him, because it's like I grew up I come from a military family. So I grew up watching war films and documentaries and whatnot. And, this film, we had 12 days to shoot it. So, I mean, there's a scene in there with when we had 150 extras, there's 300 people on set, and we shot that in 2.5 days. And, that would have been 2 weeks for most films, and we had to shoot it like that. So fortunately, I had the prep so I could do that, which allowed for these, 12-day shoots. It seems like all these action films and whatnot are, 10, 12, 15 days now. And 10 years ago, I was doing the same thing for 25 or 30 days. But that's just kind of like the world we're living in. It's like you want bigger action sequences, but you want it in less days. And, that's, the Fullers and, all these films that, look at Halloween, the original Halloween, like all these films that like no budget, no time, and you just make what, everybody comes together.
Shane, I think it's a cliche though, but with that, all those restrictions, did you find yourself, was it just looking at the final product? You must have been so pleased with everything. And sometimes being that handcuffed, does that lead to so many different creative energy and solutions?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. We started designing it going, this set is close to this set. So let's make this abandoned hospital work because we already had this field where that huge battle sequence was. So we knew we could shoot in these locations. So we would change things up based on locations we'd have, or, we were driving to set one day, and then there's a scene where they're walking over these giant boulders, like massive, massive river of boulders. And I had, had them stop the car, and they're like, "What are you doing? We have to hurry up and get to set." I was like, "No, no, no. I want these guys, I want to feel like they've walked 100 miles through these different terrains." So, you know, we were late to shoot one scene. I was like, "I'll make up for it, but please just send these guys up 100 yards and let them come down it." And it's just them walking, but it really sets the tone for like, wow, these guys are on a journey that, normally you just like, oh, walk from right to left or whatever and across this field. And we get that. But like to have them like walking through forest and walking here and doing this and different locations, I will cut other things to make it feel like make the scope feel a lot bigger.
Another movie that I'm going to reference is Robert Aldrich's The Dirty Dozen. A
Oh,
great
yeah.
ensemble. You have a great ensemble cast here. How much of it was a creative coup for you to get Kelsey Grammer on board, and how did you get him? That was, I think, a great get for this project.
Yeah. Fortunately for me, when I signed on, when Richard Switcher sent me the script, Kelsey was already on board. So he was like, it was War that I wanted to do, and then also it was Kelsey. It's like, yes, please, because I'd heard so many great things and buddies that have directed him or worked alongside him, and it was huge. So once he was on board, we already knew what kind of film we were making. He just felt like a general. I mean, it's amazing that he hadn't played one in the past. But these other actors, Pooch Hall and Jalone Vanover. I worked with those guys for, I mean, I've known those guys for 20, 25 years. I mean, Jalone and I went to the same college. Pooch and I've played basketball together 25 years ago. So I'm played in some of my closest friends. So having them already on board, and then Joe Anderson was a friend of a friend, and Gilles Marini had worked with a lot of my friends, and William Moseley was kind of the left field one. He was sent to us, and then I was like, of course I know. My kids love the Narnia films, so uh, it just became like this brotherhood of fantastic actors that just kind of came together, and they were able to come to set early or a few days so we could go to actual location as opposed to just sitting in a hotel room and going like, hey, picture this. I was able to bring them to the actual locations, which was very key in this film.
How much did Moseley surprise you? I'm thinking years back when I first time I saw Mark Hamill in The Big Red One, I said, nah, he's not going to do it. And then he was
Yeah.
great in that. So, I mean, just talk about working with Moseley, and I'm sure you were very pleased with how his performance turned out.
Yeah, he's what a sweet guy. I mean, he's just a wonderful person first, and then a great actor. He could just turn it on and just play Southern. Here's this British guy who's playing the Southern actor called Southern. But he just lifts everybody up, and just his range. And I will definitely be working with him again. I mean, like a lot of these actors, but he just comes prepared. And I've worked with, been on sets with Bad Apples, and this was definitely not that set because everybody wanted to come. And when they got killed off or left, they were still FaceTiming us at dinner, going, what'd y'all shoot today? How's it going? Oh my God, I'm so glad. I'm so upset that I had to leave.
Yeah. So it feels, Shane, it feels like I interviewed you for The Best Man
Yeah.
maybe 2.5 weeks ago. So can you
Yeah.
talk, what is the unlock as far as turning over, going from film to film, putting your stamp on it, and just it? Do you sleep? What's the key to that as far as your output
Yeah,
goes?
with I've done a lot of these action films, and I just came off of one 2 weeks ago. Shot another Dolph Lundgren, Michael Jai White film. So yeah, for me, it's I've done that film. Fight or Flight. I just finished. A director just passed away during pre-production, so I stepped in like when everything was set. So it was a different circumstance. The Best Man, I replaced another director. So I'm used to being thrown in these situations where there's like 10 or 12 or 13 days. And there's always, like, hey, we want these action set pieces. You can pull them off, and you can pull them off in 10 or 12 days. I'm like, man, I missed the 25-day shoots, which will be my next film. But I miss those type of things because they want bigger and badder, but they don't want to give you the time to do it, it feels like.
What do you have a Zen room you go to? Because when you know you have the 10 to 12 days, it just I think it'd be a stressor for any talented filmmaker. Or is it because you've just been doing this for a while, you know the drill, the stressor isn't as a high blood pressure as most people would think?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I worked at ESPN for 13 years. I think the average time there is 7 months. I handle stress really well in those live sporting events. So that's what really helped me. And then when I show up, the first day I show up on set, when I'm introducing myself to the cast and crew, I bring them everybody together and I said, look, this is me yelling. I don't yell. I don't scream. If I raise my voice even above this, I'm probably not happy, but I will not yell and scream. And if anybody does that on set, then I will fire you. I think everybody gets into film or any profession, you want, because you love it. You want to do it, what you do. I'm sure you love, like you do it because you love it and you want to do it. So, but when you bring in people that are just screaming and yelling, and it's like, why are we doing this? So that's my key, is just you know keeping it fun loving and people smiling and having a good time, because that's why we all got into this profession, is to have a good time. And that's my key, is like just to stay even keel and not stress out, because it's not, it's not life or death. I mean, if it messes up, then let's do take two, or whatever. Like, let's do it again. And I've worked with a lot of jerk actors, and I'll close the set and I'll go with a walk on and just say, man, just calm down. Like, let's do this. I fired Oscar winning actors. Like, there's life's too short to work with people that are just too tough. like that.
I think that's gutsy for you to do because everyone understandably wants to try to toe the line and make sure that everything's kosher for the next job. But you, you never had that, right? You always learned that, hey, let's keep a very healthy environment moving forward, no matter what.
Yeah, I mean it's important, and I've worked with an actor recently, and we'll be talking here in a year or whenever about that film, and our noses touched a couple of times because we are, you know, literally touched. And it's just, the intensity of some of these actors, like, man, just chill.
Yeah.
Let's have fun. Like there's no reason to do this. And, I think, that actor needed to leave set a few times, and I made sure that he did. And it's just so everybody else could have a good time,
Yeah.
and we could make a film that we're all proud of.
Speaking of films you're all proud of, I apologize for you're looking yourself in the mirror here.
Yeah.
Murder Company, putting it against the rest of your body, diverse work. How
Yeah.
would you, where would you rank it? Because I think this is just a great film. Are you able to actually put yourself outside the whole situation and actually review it or rank it amongst your work? Because I think it's just
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, no, I'm beyond proud of this. This is one, I've made films that I've been hired to do, and there's other ones that I've written that are like, I wish we'd had more time. I mean, Best Man, we shot that in 10 days. Like I signed on for 14. Like there's just certain things that are just we couldn't shoot just based on time. And this one, I got everything I wanted. And, you know, I'm so proud of this film. The fact that I can show my dad, and I could show my military buddies, and ex-military and current military. I've shown people, and then they were brought to tears, and they experienced that. Means more to me than anything else, because like, oh, this actor did a great roundhouse kick in an action film, or he did this. Like it means more. That's why I think I'll do more war films, because they are so personal to people, and the true stories mean so much. It means that much more than something I could just, as a fictional writer, write.
That is so cool because my question was I selfishly as a cinephile want you to do more war films. And when people ask me about your work, I'm going to say, yeah, very diverse work, but I'm going to start off, with Bloodworth and Murder Company,
Yeah.
because is that where you really want to go, even though you do so many different projects, just doing something personal and straight, like where you feel like you're actually bleeding through the project. It means so much more to you in the end, I guess.
Yeah. And thanks for bringing up Bloodworth. I mean, that one's the one that's, I mean, that experience from top to bottom was, I don't know if it was my first big film. I mean, we had 30 days or whatever to shoot. Like I shot everything I wanted to shoot and more. And the experience, and that was the one where the crew was way more experienced than I was, in my second film ever. I'd been with ESPN for a long time, but that film was the one where, like, this is everybody should have fun. I had a great, from on down the list and of actors, crew, and I've kind of carried that on from that film. And I learned so much on that film, which I've carried over to other films, because of the experienced people I had around me that taught me so much, that you don't have to be a jerk. You can be, you can lead by example and not by screaming and yelling. Because I've been on sets where directors have megaphones, and they're just, everybody's stressed out. And, like I said, I've fired Oscar winning actors, and they just didn't, it wasn't the vibe that I wanted.
Yeah.
And, I pride myself in doing those, making everybody enjoy themselves. So when they leave, they can say, look, we had a great time, and I'd love to work with them again.
The
Or
tragedy with all that screaming on set, you think about all the talented cast and crew who probably decided to go on a career change just because of those kind of moments. So it's
yeah.
great that you're actually making sure you nip it in the bud, you know.
Yeah, 100%. And of course there's going to be stressful days, like any profession. You're going to have stress, but it's just how you handle that stress. And I try to lead by example. I mean, like literally, I don't yell. I mean, I'm just wanted to, like, we're going to get through this. Give me 10 minutes. If I need to go rewrite a scene. I mean, we just shot in, I mean, heaven forbid, I don't know if you've seen the news, but Ruidoso, that's on fire. If you've seen any of the nightly news, I mean, that town, 2 weeks ago I was on set, and the town is burned down. I mean, the locations that we shot in 2 weeks ago are gone as of the last 2 days. So the house I stayed in is gone, that I stayed in for pre-production and shoots. So it's, there when the fire started, I mean, I've got it on my phone. We had to adjust, and it took a while because two fires converged, but we had to change locations based on this. And it's like, that's life. I mean, go change because we can't breathe in certain, there's one set we couldn't really breathe in because the fire was getting a little too close, the wind was blowing it. So it's like, don't force it upon people. Let's just let me go rewrite it. Yeah, we lost 3 or 4 hours, but I can rewrite it for something else
Yeah.
and make it work.
Shane, final question is a two-parter. First off, with all these wonderful movies behind you in I'm assuming your office, can you name one film that was very influential for you as a youth that actually helped maybe inspire or carry you on as a filmmaker today? What made that movie so special? So that's the first part of my question.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the Goonies, right there. I mean, like I said, I just, the first time I watched it was to enjoy it. Then I started watching it, and then I'm started looking at around the screen. And I'm looking at production design and costumes, and then, that's what got me involved because growing up in a tiny town in Kentucky, there was no internet there. I had no one to look at. There was nobody in the film industry. I had nobody. I moved in high school. I moved to Louisville and started working at Actors Theaters and working with there was phenomenal actors, Jason Alexander and Mercedes Rule and Delroy Lindo that came through. So I was volunteering in high school, but this wasn't a path that I wanted. So my film school, and I started working at ESPN at 19, and traveling the world and doing documentaries. So, my film school were the Goonies and the films we grew up on the A's going like this. It felt like a confined film, but like, there's the set pieces were huge, and I'm excited. This next film I'm doing it's a huge undertaking in Australia. So I'll be the only American, and it's a 10 or $15 million shoot in the outback, and I'll be the only American crew or cast, and it's going to be a big one. And everything's kind of led up to this, whether it's The Best Man or these other films.
What can you tell us? I'm sure very little about the project. Anything else you can tell us? And how much have you been prepping for this? Because I'm sure you're pretty much ready to go.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm doing this. It's called Down Under. This film I'm about to direct. So it's this. It's basically the Meg set in the outback. I don't know how else to describe it. It's basically these miners unleash these killer prehistoric kangaroos, which really existed. They were 10, 12, 15 feet tall with shark teeth. So it's this wild trimmer. It feels like Trimmers, in a sense that it's this action comedy. But I've done so many action films, and the reason I was chosen was because I've done action film, but I went off and went against kind of my reps, and said I'm going to do this comedy Christmas classic that came out last year, and it was like this Christmas romantic comedy. If I had not done that film, then I wouldn't have been offered this film in Australia because it shows I can do comedy separately from action. If I'd just done action, they're like, well, there's a lot of guys like, a lot of directors, guys and girls that can do that. But the fact that I've proven, that film was #1 on Paramount Plus this past Christmas. Best Man was #1 on Hulu in April, #1 film. So I've proven hopefully that I can do multiple things. And I'm glad that I didn't listen to my reps at the time going, no, you need to keep just doing action films.
I hope your reps said sorry to you. I hope they said sorry to you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I enjoyed it. My kids love that film. It's the only one because it's a PG-13 film that, my kids, other kids can, watch. Most of them, it's like there's just a lot of killing and a lot of guns and whatnot. But no, that one's helped.
Shane, thank you for your time. And this is just a very geeky question. I don't even know if I'm going to put it for the full interview, but the main lead for Bloodworth, I looked on IMDb. I just wish he did more work. He's such a good
Yeah,
actor. I don't know
he is. Reece, he just got
yeah,
Reece Daniel Thompson. I love that kid. And I
good.
auditioned I felt like I looked at 200 people back then, and he just nailed it. I mean, there's some actors that are huge actors today that I met with, that have gone on to do Marvel films. But Reece he just didn't like the LA vibe. Like he just wanted to deal, he's a kid from Vancouver. Now he's teaching, he does some films up there, and I'm going to bring him out again because he's too talented. I mean, he's done Jason Reitman's films. He's just done big films, and he just decided like it wasn't for him, which I I respect. I mean, this is not for everybody. And it's like the traveling circus. And especially as an actor, you put yourself out there so much and you get rejected so much. And it's, I've been in auditions. I mean, I can't tell you hundreds of them with actors and or actresses. And, there's so many times I'm going like, you're not right for this film, but I'm going to work with you again. And I have,
Yeah.
because it sticks with you, because you could see how much they care and what they would bring. And it's just, they might not be right for that one because of, this or that. But they're playing a son of some, like that character. I wanted to feel like he would be the son of Dwight Yoakam, as opposed to some of these other kids that have been in Marvel, not kids, actors that have been in these Marvel films that didn't feel like someone that could live in the woods.
Yeah. Well, again, thanks again, Shane. You got to pull a Robert Altman. You got to have him, can have Reece as part of your forever acting
Yes,
troupe down in 20 years later that they're going to be not.
absolutely, man. There was a part of me that wanted to bring him to bring into Bulgaria for this one, but there's a couple other war films that I will be bringing him on to for sure.
I'm going to hold you on, hold you to that
Yeah.
again. Thank you so much for your time. Really love
Okay.
Motor Company.
Thank you, man. I
And
appreciate it.
I'll talk to you in about 3 weeks for your next film.
Yes,
Right?
absolutely. Let's do it, man.